everybody. This is Tracy Malone from narcissistabusesupport.com. Today, I am going to interview my friend, Rebecca Zung. Rebecca is the author of 2 books, but we're going to be talking about her new Slay book, which is how to slay the narcissist and negotiate better with a narcissist. We're going to get into some topics that most people really need to understand is what the reason it's so hard to negotiate with a narcissist. So let's go welcome Rebecca, and I'll see you on the other side. Hi, Rebecca. Welcome back. I'm so excited to have you here. Thank you so much for being with our audience today, because you are America's top 1% of lawyers, and you have been doing such amazing work in this community to help people really understand how to negotiate with narcissists.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's always such a pleasure to come and hang out with you again.
Yay, we could talk all day. I know that. Today, I would love for you to start off with just give us a little bit of update of what you've been doing, because I know you've got the Slay program and you're certifying negotiators. What's going on in your world? And then we'll get into our topic a little bit.
Yeah. So let's see. Since the last time we were hanging out, I I published a new book, Slay the Bully: How to Negotiate with a Narcissist and Win. Super excited that it hit the USA Today #1 bestseller and Amazon #1 bestseller. And I also started a certification program for high conflict negotiation certification. And so that's for people who want to become certified, not just for becoming a coach, which they can use it to become a coach, but also for people who are in a profession and want to become better at high conflict negotiation. So if somebody's an attorney, a mediator, a mental health professional, any sort of profession, sales trainer, HR professional, we train in that space as well. So it's a fantastic program. I'm so proud of it, and that's what I'm doing.
Yay. You are always doing new things. You're like, I just want to be you when I grow up. And I'm very, very excited that everything that you touch turns to gold, and you're doing it right. So, thank you from all of the survivors. I have clients every day. Oh, I'm doing Rebecca's Slay program. Oh, I got the book. I'm doing it too. And so everybody is right on board with learning this, because it's a vital piece of working with a narcissist, right?
Well, together we rise, right? I mean, and so as long as we can support each other, and I'm so grateful that you and I have always been so supportive of each other, and yeah, and as long as people are helped and people are breaking free from the trauma bonds and feeling better, then that is what it's all about. And every time somebody says that their spark has come back and light has come on in their lives again, then I feel like the work is done. The work is being accomplished.
Yeah, yeah, and you're doing it good. So thank you. Thank you from the whole community. We're going to start our discussion today about, like, I know you have some things you want to talk about how the narcissist is made, because people always ask us that, like, what, how come, how did they become a narcissist? And, what do you want to share with us about that?
Yeah, I think it's so important to start with that because it's so powerful to me for so many reasons, and why I feel so passionate about the work that I'm doing and that so many others are doing in this space, and also for the thrivers that you talk about, and and understanding that it's not your fault, and how to approach communicating with narcissists, and and negotiating with narcissists. And so this is research that I uncovered while I was writing my last book, and something that I wasn't really familiar with until I wrote my last book. So, how a narcissist was formed is during childhood, and it's a result of trauma,
Mhm.
and how all of us are respond to trauma
Mhm.
is that when we are in fight or flight, when we are in stress response, our brains emit chemicals, neurotransmitters, which are adrenaline and cortisol. And to prepare us to be stronger, faster, right? And so, we sweat and we're like feeling like our heart rate goes up and all of that. And when children are dealing with stressful situations as a result of being in an abusive situation, or maybe they are witnessing abuse, maybe they are just dealing with neglectful situations, maybe it's that they are dealing with overindulgence, even sometimes, honestly. But it causes cortisol to build up in the limbic system part of their brain.
Mhm.
And that actually causes arrested development. And that is what causes narcissism. And so what happens is when they grow up and they are triggered by situations that cause them to feel that they are needing to be back in survival mode, and it's not rational and it's not reasonable, and it doesn't necessarily have to be verbal. It's usually a lot of times nonverbal, but it could be an eye roll, it could be a tone of voice, but it's something that causes them to feel like they're going to experience a loss of control, like they're going to experience uh that they're going to be exposed in some way or something like that. And what happens is then they get triggered, and that causes their brain to now go back into the limbic system, is now taking back over. And so now that the prefrontal cortex, that thinking judgment part of their cortex, is no longer in control. It's that limbic part of their brain is now in control. And so while that prefrontal cortex part of their brain developed naturally and normally, that limbic part did not. And so now that is what took back over. And so now you're dealing with that. Now you're dealing with whatever that is that's going on with them. And they're, because of they have a part of their personality type called splitting. It goes from 0 to 100 in on a turn of a dime. And so you're either for them or against them. You're either the friend or the enemy or whatever, black and white. And so now when that takes over, you don't know what you're dealing with. And a lot of times, and if you look at the anatomy of the brain, by the way, that limbic part of the brain is very closely related to memory. So a lot of times when they say that didn't happen, I didn't do that, a lot of times they may not necessarily remember how they behaved during that period of time, especially if they are in a narcissistic rage situation. And so this is actually called narcissistic injury, this what happened in their brain. Okay. Now, let me tell you, when this happens, they are unaware many times of the collateral damage that they are causing around them.
Mhm.
And here's the other piece of this. When they are in this situation, and this is what I was even unaware of as a lawyer when I was practicing for nearly 2 decades. Okay. I will tell you this: when they're in this situation, they will take themselves down to take you down. And that's the thing that perplexed me to no end. I was like, why in the hell would that guy say, I will destroy my own business so that she won't have it? I'd be like, that makes no sense to me. but that's what they will do.
Mhm.
And that's the stuff that is it is crazy talk, but that's what they will do. And that's because of this, what I'm describing right here. And that's what nobody else understands. It's it's basically a brain injury. It's the same thing. Their brains literally do not think the same way as other people's brains. And that's why you cannot communicate with or negotiate with narcissists in the same way that you can with a rational or reasonable person. Period. End of story.
Wow, that's such a good explanation of the narcissistic sort of, again, how they get there. And it is trauma. You can see it. And I think, when a lot of narcissists have narcissistic parents, right, that there's always a tie. There's somebody that did that damage, that trauma to them. And so there's some correlation. And it's almost like, not all children of narcissists become narcissists, but there's a really good chance that they will. And, I had a narcissistic mom, and both my sisters were narcissistic, and I was the people pleaser and the one that put it all together. And so I ended up marrying them, not knowing what they were because I was so familiar, right? So, when you are dealing with a narcissist, it is important to understand that this is something that, you know, it wasn't a choice. They just became a coping strategy for all their trauma. All their pain is to hurt others so that they
Correct.
protect themselves. That's
Correct.
the key here is they are not,
Correct.
I'm not saying they're not deliberate because I do believe they are, because then they see that that works and then they take that tactic and they take it to the next level.
Correct.
Yeah. So
Correct.
how does all that
Correct.
play into
That's
the
correct. And I
negotiation?
have, eh,
Go ahead.
oh, well, will definitely explain that to you. But
Okay.
I know I have an explanation for you as to why not everybody turns out to be one too, by the way, because there's a really great book. It's by Oprah Winfrey and Bruce Perry, and
Oh.
it's called What Happened to You.
Mhm.
And it's about the brain and it's about the trauma. And it actually talks more about this too, by the way. And the way they describe it as to why not everybody turns out like this
Mhm.
is that it's like, he says it's like being in a house that's on fire. And that some people, when they are in this fire, are they're in like different rooms of the fire, and some people are like the fire is right here and they're really feeling it burning, and some people are like the fireman. He's like well, he's grown and he's like really trained and skilled, and so the fire occurs differently for him. And then some people might be only feeling like the heat of it, but they don't see the flames. And then some people are like if they only see the smoke or feel the smoke, and so they, it occurs differently for them. And so like everybody experiences the fire in a different way.
Mhm.
And so some people might be only 2 years old and they don't really remember the fire. And then some people are like 14, and so like that's why some people can come out of the same house and not have the same types of experiences.
Mhm. Yeah, it makes
So
sense.
that's what he said.
That's one of my favorite books. I use an example from that book all the time, and it's powerful to listen to that book, and I read it as well, to just see what happened to you. The neurology of the brain is, again, why I think it's one of the best books that really explains this. So thank you for bringing it up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, it doesn't mean like just because you had a narcissistic parent, you're going to be a narcissist or whatever. But for some people, that's how it worked out for them. And so, and I'm not giving them a pass at all, but I'm just saying that, it's sort of like some people turn out to have autism or be on the spectrum or whatever. And, we don't expect them to be the same. Right. And so we have to stop thinking that there has to be this one size fits all way of negotiating with people, because narcissists aren't the same.
Mhm.
They're not. Or narcissistic people or high conflict people, they're not. And so, the problem that I have with the judicial system is that they say everybody has to go to mediation and everybody has to do it the same way. Well, not everybody's the same.
Mhm.
And narcissists, they are needing narcissistic supply, and they get off on getting supply from people. That's how they get off.
Mhm.
And the problem is that we don't understand that they don't just want to win. They don't just want to win. Winning is only one form of supply. There's what I call diamond supply. Diamond level supply is image. It's how they look. And
Mhm.
that's just one form of supply. That's their best form of supply. There's something else that I call level supply, which is manipulation. And that's also very, very important for them. And it's, it takes the form of degrading people, smearing people, all sorts of things, passive aggression. And so, both forms of supply are very, very important to the narcissist, and they are not going to give up either willingly. So, in order to create, leverage, in order to get rid of that narcissist out of your life, you've got to figure out a strategy, which is part of the slay method. So strategy is S, and which includes leverage, which is the L, which threatens a form of supply, which is more important for them to keep than the supply that they get from manipulating you. And if you don't figure that out, and then you know and then get and then create that leverage, because if you don't figure that out, they're never going to leave you alone ever, because as long as they continue to get that level form of supply, they will never leave you alone. They're never going to give that up ever. And so how do you do that? Well, you start off by figuring out what that diamond level form of supply is. It's always going to inform your strategy, always. And so whenever I'm doing a one-on-one with somebody, or when I'm doing my certification, or when I'm, whatever, I always say, what's their diamond level form of supply? Where do you start? Because they're like rats in a maze. Now it's going to be different for every single narcissist, but every narcissist has a diamond level form of supply. And it could be multiple forms. I mean, multiple things. It could be the judge, it could be their new girlfriend, it could be their employer, their employees, it could be their celebrity friends, it could be, and so it could be a bunch of different things, right? But what is it that they don't want people to know? Their porn addiction, that they gamble, that they're a crap dad, that they're a liar, that they always have some kind of something on the underneath that they don't want people to know. There's always something about narcissists that that you could expose about them.
Mhm.
Summary of lies and inconsistent statements. I mean, there's always some bad behavior. They always give you gifts. I call them gifts. Like, like every time they don't show up on time, every time they call you some bad name or whatever, just go, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Right. Because then that becomes your leverage.
Mhm.
And that's how you build your case. That's how
So
you do it.
can you describe to us what leverage is? Because everyone's always like, I need leverage, I need leverage, I need leverage. So explain what it is so that people can figure out how to find it, right?
Well, I mean, there's so many different types of forms, but it could be a summary. Okay, so I had well, one of my clients in my high conflict certification program just last week told me she went to court with 125 exhibits. That was leverage. 125 because she learned from my program, But like one example was I had a client one time who built a piece of leverage that she had while the case was pending. She had, I think, 96 custody exchanges in 4 months. The guy asked, he was like, "Oh, I'm Mr. Dad and I am the best, you know." And they had 96 custody exchanges. He asked for a change in the schedule. I think it was 48 times in the 96 custody exchanges. And she kept track of that 48 times. And then I think it was 24 times in under an hour. Right. But she said yes every single time. And she just had a little um, chart. And then right under behind the chart, she had every single text message in their app where he asked for it. And she had the backup supporting documentation. So it just made him look like a schmuck.
Mhm.
Right. So there was one exhibit. So that's a piece of leverage.
Mhm.
Every time they're late, every time they pay something late, make a exhibit.
Mhm.
Um, there's so many opportunities because like every time they say something that's inconsistent, they say one thing on July 1st, they say something else on July 9th. That's a piece of leverage. You match those two statements together as an exhibit. There you go. You
Mhm.
can do a summary of inconsistent statements. So there's many different things that you can do. And so that's how I teach people how to do it. There's you can do depose to, I call it depose to expose, so do a deposition or whatever. I mean, I teach people in my program how to do it, and I call it, you're building an invisible fence around them. And then, you present their options, and you're ethically manipulating the manipulator, because you're not doing anything that's it's not blackmail, it's not anything. You're using their own behavior. That's what you're doing.
Their emails,
Um
their texts. I've had so many clients that, have had these text chains in one of the parenting apps sort of thing. And, yeah, I think our kids should go to Boy Scouts. Sure, that's fine. Let's do it. And then, tonight's Boy Scouts, are you going to take them? Oh, I don't want to take them. It becomes, you said you were taking them. I paid for it and signed up, and then you didn't, and you would not. And there's here 85 texts of me saying, it's tonight, can you please go, and all this stuff. And you're following up and you're seeing where he's going, I never said she could even join that. Well, here's the text, and here's what happened afterwards. It becomes a package of leverage to show his inconsistency and his lying, and how he's trying to weasel out of, oh, I didn't ever say that. Well, here it is in black and white. And so those are the kind of things I think that, again, I think with, when people have child protective services involved, when they've got GALs involved, people are going to really dig into your data. This is such helpful stuff to have. What you're saying is these sort of little exhibits, these packages of, whoop, that's proof, that's another proof, that's another proof, right?
Correct. And so what I do is I teach people how to do that. I provide the templates.
Mm-hmm.
So in my programs, I give the templates, I give the timelines, I give everything like that. So,
Mm-hmm.
some people think, oh, all I need is a good lawyer. Well, the lawyer is not going to give all this to you. They're not going to show you how to do all of this, right? So I provide all of this for people, so that they have
No.
it all ready to go for them. And so it literally saves them thousands and thousands of dollars, and shows them how to win. And the lawyer doesn't understand what diamond level supply is versus coal level supply. They don't understand how to create this. And the lawyer's looking to you. What do I say? How do I provide, what's I mean, if somebody would say to me as a lawyer, like, oh, your client is a blah. I would say to my client, like, how do I respond? What should I say? Give me the response.
Mhm.
You are the one that has to be prepared to give your lawyer what to say for that. And so that's what I teach people how to do. And so it's literally how to create that. And then A is anticipate, be 2 steps ahead of that narcissist. And how do you do that? Knowing the type of narcissist you're dealing with. We're talking about covert, grandiose, and malignant. If you know that they're covert, you know that they're going to be passive aggressive, you know that they're going to be more likely to smear, they're going to want to keep the game face on, the pearl clutchers, like we were talking about earlier, right?
Mhm.
Um, the grandiose are the ones that are going to file the false pleadings, or they're going to be the ones that are going to be the um the ones that are going to be the in your face, right? But
Stop. Yeah.
well, the malignants are going to be the stalkers. They're going to be the ones that are going to be like, oh, you're a child molester, I'm going after your job. They're going to be the ones that are going to be like attaching the stuff to your computers or to your cars and stuff like that. I mean, they're the really heavy hitters, right? So I would say the Darth Vaders of the narcissist, right? Um, so those are if you can be, anticipate, you can be 2 steps ahead. And then I always have like these ways of kind of dealing with it. I call it my grab and go toolbox, right? Making a plan, Stan, like never meet them without having an agenda and a scope and a time limit. And I call it fluff or favor, vomit later, right? So like fluff up their ego to like get a little something that you want, to get a little, give them something that they want, right? It's a little like kind of like a transactional situation, right? But hey, sometimes it works, right?
You know,
Um,
and we were talking earlier about narcissists not delivering their discovery. And this is always a problem for people. So, we're kind of walking out of the sleigh part here to just go, what does someone do when they are fighting a battle to get discovery and they're putting in motions to compel? Or I've had clients that, it's been a month, but my lawyer sent them an email, we haven't heard back, and time goes on and time goes on, they never get
why are they sending emails? I mean, that's just such a waste of time and money. I mean, this is, so in my sleigh packet, I have a 5-page packet. I call it my Make My Lawyer My Ally packet. Like, just give this to your lawyer, which, one of the things I say in there is because in there I have do's and don'ts for the lawyers, which is, don't bother doing things like that. Don't bother sending letters of proposal back and forth trying to settle cases that way. That's a waste of money. It's a waste of money trying to resolve conflicts like that with around discovery. I mean, if they don't provide the discovery, file the motion to compel right away. I mean, because they're never going to do it. Or just subpoena the stuff right away. I mean, if it's something that can be subpoenaed. I mean, obviously if it's something that's definitely only something in their possession that you can't subpoena, then you have to do it like that.
Mhm.
But if it's like Bank of America or Chase Bank or something like that, then just go straight to the source,
Mhm.
right? I mean, sometimes you don't know what banks they have money in first. So, I mean, the way you can kind of figure that out, if they're a W-2 employee, the way I used to sort of back into that is go to their employer first, subpoena all of the records from their employer, find out every bank account that their employer has ever they've directed money into, as far as their employer, and um, then subpoena the banks. Um, so that's like one place that you can start.
Mhm.
And then once you get the bank records back, you can look to see, okay, has there been other banks that they've transferred money into from there? Try to follow the trail. So, but don't go to them. They're not going to give it to you.
Never, 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 never. They just, it doesn't matter what you ask. It's that narc injury that is stopping them. I don't have to if I don't want to, and I'm just going to make your life miserable. Go ahead, pay your lawyer. Ask me 80 times. I don't care. I'm still not going to do it till it's over.
Yeah. They get coal level supply from manipulating you. They get off on that. They
Mhm.
literally get off on that. I mean, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine the other day. This is so indicative of this. She was telling me about her narc mother-in-law who was, when her daughter was little, she remembered her mother-in-law actually hiding behind a tree. Her mother-in-law had hidden her daughter's doll, and the daughter was running around crying, looking for the doll, and the mother-in-law was behind a tree laughing. She thought it was funny that the daughter couldn't find the doll and was crying. And like that is such a perfect example of what it looks like when a narcissist is getting that coal level supply manipulating, because that's exactly what is happening with them when they're withholding discovery. They're just laughing and they just think it's funny. And so my friend was like so horrified seeing this, and she's like, What the hell are you doing?" And she grabbed her daughter and she's like, "What the hell are you doing?" And she just remembered like that scene, like it was so gross and horrifying and weird. And she's like, "Give her doll. Like, what are you doing?" And she just like laughed and she's like, "Oh, I was just playing with her. I just thought it was funny." But
That, that,
that's
that's the kind of thing. It's always a joke. Whatever they did wrong. Oh, I was just kidding. Can't you take a joke? Right? That's very common in the covert narcissist as well.
Yeah, but that's exactly what's happening there. It's all about the supply for them. It's exactly what's happening.
Hmm. Yeah, they do. It's crazy. All right, I've got a couple more questions for you because we have so much to talk about. You have these phrases that are helpful that work in communicating with them. Can you share a little of that with us?
Yeah. So when you start off, I say when under the strategy part, step one, don't run, is you start off by having one boundary. So the first boundary is, having respect for yourself, right? And so no matter who you're dealing with, whether it's a divorce or a boss or your mom, I don't care who the hell it is, but you are always entitled to respect. And so I always tell people, put that one invisible boundary down around you, and it's like Teflon. And you start off by starting to see that narcissist as a third party, starting to observe them as if they are a third party, starting to see them as if they are a toddler on the floor. And once you can start to observe them like that, because they really are kind of toddlers stuck in adult bodies, you can start to observe their behavior to them. And so you can start to say things like to them, like, I can see that you are upset. I
Hmm.
can see that you are angry. And you remain calm. And once you are remaining calm, you can, and that way, if they're just throwing barbs at you, you can just say things like, thank you for the feedback.
Hmm.
Right? Just like whatever. If they insult you, thank you for the feedback. I can see that you're angry. We can continue this discussion when you have calmed down. And nothing they say is penetrating your Teflon, your invisible barrier. You're just like Superman with the bullets off your chest, Wonder Woman with the bullets off your bracelet, and you're just, observing, not absorbing. You're
Hmm.
just, we can talk about this later. Uh, uh, just like that, observing behavior to them, right? So, like that.
Yeah.
So those are the types of phrases that I suggest, like that.
Yeah, and they work because, like, the ego is involved for them, and if they are seeing you, like, they insult you and you react, that's where they get the supply, and they go, "Oh, a little more of that. Can I give her a little more of that? That worked. Let me poke her again," right?
Right.
You become calm and cool and like, "Well, I can see you're upset right now," and you're just clean and, like, not taking it personally. The supply chain is dead. And so that's why it works, is because you beat them at their own game. They're
Yeah.
looking for you to react. They're looking for that pain they're causing you. And you're like, good try. Would you like to try another? Because I'm still smiling. You can go home into your room and punch a pillow and get in your car after you're with them and scream as loud as you can and take out what you felt. But in front of them, it's calm and cool and collected. And, just hitting them back
Yeah.
with some of these sort of phrases. They really, really work.
Yeah.
And Bill Eddy's work and all of the other things that are out there to not give them anything that they can use against you is such strong, it's good practice because it's not like you're manipulating them. Some people say, I feel like I'm manipulating them. You're not manipulating them to steal their money. You're trying to get them to hand in their paperwork or take the kids on Saturday. You're not manipulating them on the way that they were manipulating. And again, a lot of victims just react and go, oh, I don't want to. And then I say, try it. And they come back and go, oh my God, it worked.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, another one that I like to use, I mean, I always say make sure that you're careful with how you use it, but I always say I agree with you. Like, but, I just make sure that you kind of be careful how you, because you're not going to say I agree with you that I'm a terrible dad, but but you could say I agree with you that we're not going to agree, or I agree with you that this is not going anywhere, or I agree with you that this is pointless conversation, or I agree with you that that's your perspective, or something like that, because all they hear is I agree with you, and you've agreed to nothing, um, right? But literally you can just say I agree with you that blah 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 or whatever, and you've literally agreed to nothing. So, I
But
like that one too.
it's disarming them. It's just taking them down so that they don't even know what hit them. Because again, you had them at hello. I agree with you. I trust you. I'm like, oh, they do. And then whatever comes after that, they don't hear. They just hear the validation. That's their ego talking, right? So
Right.
really, really works. And I'm so glad that you brought this into the divorce realm to really show people how it can change the face of the divorce by getting them to not react or not letting them escalate it, so that if they escalate it and they take you down, then they can walk all over you because you're down, right? If you
Mhm.
stand above it, and this is why coaches and people that work with them can really get them emotionally stronger so that they can have that empowerment to be able to do this and not feel like it's going to fall apart if I try that. I don't know. And so just having someone to ground you, doing your course, reading your book and learning that, hey, this is something I definitely can incorporate into our negotiations. It will be a very powerful tool for people.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. And then, I just want to say the why in my program is you, which is focusing on you being on the offensive, and you with your mindset, and 100% of your mindset is you believing that you can win.
Mhm.
And a lot of times people are like, oh, they're so much more powerful, or there's so much, they always get their way, or everybody always believes their lies, or the judge is on their side, or all these things that we hear all the time, right? And I always say, do you want to be right about that, or do you want to actually win? Right? I mean, like I see things turn around every single day, all the time, but you have to believe it, and you have to be on the offensive. And let me tell you, they're way more afraid of you than you are of them. 100% they are. They just don't want you to figure that out. And once you do, they are so afraid. They're so afraid.
Yeah, yeah, they really are. And I think you have a free gift for my audience. Is that correct?
Yeah. So if you want to go to disarmthenarc.com, people can get 15 free phrases for disarming narcissists. So we just talked about some of them. But if you go to disarmthenarc.com, people can get 15 free phrases for disarming narcissists. So that's a good
Yay.
place to go. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Is there anything that we missed, or why don't we tell people again how they can reach out to you?
Yeah. So my YouTube is RebeccaZung.tv. And obviously my book is Slay the Bully. They can check that out anywhere people buy books. And then obviously my Instagram is Rebecca Zung, at my name, at Rebecca Zung. And and then, I think that, checking out my website or my YouTube or my Instagram, all of those places will have all the things. So I'm just grateful for you and grateful for being here, and for the opportunity to talk with you more. So it's been
Well,
great.
thank you. I'm so excited you're here. I'm sure we will talk again because this is probably our third or fourth, or between the two of us, a lot more than that. So, my audience loves you, and I have always loved you, and you are a friend, and I am so honored to have you here. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Did you learn something? I sure hope you did. Rebecca is a wealth of information and a very special friend in my life. So I am glad that she could help us here. If you are going through a divorce with a narcissist, may I suggest that you get my book, Divorcing Your Narcissist? You can't make this shit up. It is 300 pages of what to avoid and what to do if, and how to protect yourself and what to ask for, and so much information in that book that will change the face of your divorce. We have a clause in there that's I call it the $20,000 clause, and it was based on someone who had to take their ex back to court, and when they asked for legal fees, the judge said, I wish I could, but it wasn't in the first decree. Well, if you could get my book, you will save $20,000 from having to go back to court. You'll go back to court, but they'll pay your legal fees. Wouldn't that be helpful? This is Tracy Malone. Thank you so much. I am a divorce coach all over the world. And if you are struggling, I can help you not only emotionally, but in the what to do in the divorce, and how to handle your lawyers, and what happens next, and what does this mean? There's so many things that I can help you get to the other side of a divorce. So go to my website, narcissistabusesupport.com, and I'll see you on the other side.